Hey, Crystal Maiden here for part 41 of the Palace of Twilight. This dark fog is pretty annoying. Always turns you into a wolf, and you can't turn back to human while you're in the fog. It's not going to be that much of a problem later on, but yeah. You can't really do much in this dungeon when you're a wolf. It isn't like Snow Peak or the Arbitor's Grounds where it's more designed around the wolf because there are places where you can dig to go to other rooms and stuff you can dig up. There aren't really that many speedrunning tricks for this dungeon. Like, most of the speedrunning tricks are just, like, time savers. It's not really any huge scale boomerang jumps in this place. Unfortunately, this dungeon, as you can see, has an escort mission in the form of what's called Xant's Hand, chasing after you while you're carrying the soul. And of course, well, it's a really good thing that you can skip this cutscene, because after all the cutscenes you arbitrarily weren't allowed to skip, I'm surprised they actually bothered to do this. If you're in the center of this room, or it might be the other equivalent one, you can claw-shot the soul and skip Midna's text telling you what the soul is. Oh, I'm referring to the room where you first see the soul. You can skip Midna's text there. But yeah, like, throw the soul into the hole from a certain part of this room, and you'll be able to, like, the stairs will rise up, and you'll be at the top of them if you move fast enough. So, yeah, like, it's mostly just time savers. Not really anything really amazing to watch. The thing about this dungeon is, like, again, it has this neat techno feel to it. It has, like, techno music and lots of sharp edges. It's very symmetrical. It's also got enemies. It primarily consists of enemies that you fought at the beginning of the game. Like, these shadow beasts are just Dooku Babas. I don't know why those, like, octopus monsters are supposed to be called rats. That's kind of weird. But since they essentially behave like rats, they're just enemies that you found in the sewers. And of course you have the birds, which fly at you, but they don't really act all that differently from the Karkaroks that you fought in Hyrule Field. And yeah, see what I mean? Like, you go up to these Twilight, who Xant transformed into monsters for no reason whatsoever. Seriously, this guy has no proper motive to anything he does. He's such a lazily written villain. He just wants power, that's it. He was jealous of the royal family, and he's an entitled brat who thought he was wronged for no reason, and his motive should have involved him freeing the Twilight from the Twilight Realm. Because, like, they feel like it's an oppressive place, even though it doesn't look like there's anything all by itself about the Twilight Realm that's bad. I mean, you can't really see much greenery here, but they don't really do a good job of fleshing this place out to show why it's bad before Xant took it over and put monsters there. But yeah, like, Xant really should have had a more sympathetic motive. As it stands, he's just pretty generic, really. Yeah, like, it also would have been nice if, again, the Twilight Realm was more fleshed out by showing you the Twilight using advanced technology. Instead, you just see the technology as a part of the dungeon. Like these things. And even then, these are just magic stuff that look like advanced technology. But yeah, the souls, the giant light balls that you pick up, they're actually the suns of the Twilight Realm, which is pretty crazy. Apparently, not only does the Twilight Realm have more than one sun, but their suns are actually not in the sky above them as a giant star really far away warming the place up from far away. Instead, their sun somehow is just a light ball that you can carry around, and it's really tiny. Even though, if it's capable of warming up an entire realm, you think that it would be so hot that you wouldn't be able to even touch it, and that anything close to it would melt. You really expect me to believe that these things, these tiny little balls you carry around, are the sun? That sounds a little too far-fetched. I love how the camera was being blocked by something there. Also, it's weird, the fog looks just like the fog in Barren Woods. That still hasn't gone away, by the way. You'd think that the woods would become unfogged once you beat the first dungeon. But yeah, it's weird that you press your senses on and the black evil fog changes color for some reason. It needs to do that so that you can still be aware of where the fog is while also not having it, like, not allow you to see, but still. It's just kind of weird that they chose purple when they already have purple fog in the game. Like, the fog is actually shown on the minimap as purple stuff. Even though it's not purple, it's black. But on the minimap, it looks more like a purple lake than fog. But yeah, it just doesn't make any sense to me. Like, the souls are supposed to be the sun, so... And Zant was holding them hostage. Because I guess somehow he knew that they would be able to upgrade your sword. I'm not sure how he could possibly know that, since he has no contact with Hyrule. So how would he even know about the Master Sword to begin with? Let alone know how it can be powered up. Or know anything about the hero and know how to take him seriously. But yeah, like, my point is, why didn't the realm freeze over and darken from the souls being held hostage? And again, I don't see the point of him doing this. He doesn't have anything to gain from it. The souls seem to be what breaks the curse on the Twilight and makes them look all monstrous. But what did he have to gain from making them look like that? Was that what brainwashed them into not trying to rise against him? Because it's not like they'd be able to do anything against him anyways. He's a powerful sorcerer. An annoying thing about this dungeon's escort mission is that Link drops stuff when he gets hit. So obviously if he's carrying the soul and he gets hit, he's gonna drop it. And since there's lots of enemies around, and some of which, like the so-called octopus monsters, they can actually deal contact damage to you while you're trying to run past them. But yeah, the escort mission, it is intimidating in the sense that you constantly have the tension of a giant hand following behind you while making creepy sounds. And the fact that it gets some sort of psycho sting music when it gets close to you. But the thing is that you can shoot the hand with arrows multiple times to stun it. And if you shoot it enough, it'll get stunned and it'll stay in one place for a long time. Like, it won't stay there forever, so you can't kill it. But it's not really that big of a deal. Like, it's full attention, but it's not really a huge problem like the Prince Rallis. Like the Prince Rallis escort mission where it's all about the artificial stupidity of the horse. And this is just blatant padding. Why do you have to do this same mini-boss again? And another thing is, usually when you fight mini-bosses in Zelda dungeons, especially in 3D, the reward for beating them is a dungeon item, but you don't get that from defeating Phantom Zant. You just get access to the next soul. A lot of dungeons in this game have their own versions of, like, they have boss keys. They have a boss key, and they also have different things that you need to collect. Like for Snow Peak, they had the food items. For Goron Mines, they split the boss key into 3 different shards. For the Forest Temple, they had monkeys that you need to rescue. And this dungeon has souls. Of course, the temple time is a lot more traditional, aside from the destroying all the traps that gave you shit thing. And the Lakebed Temple, well, it has you doing 2 things with the east and west side. but it's not like it has you collect stuff that's unique to the dungeon. And there's also, like, yeah, like that's about it. But yeah, like every shadow enemy in this dungeon is a rehash of all the enemies we just saw at the start of the game. Even the Deku Babas, like, they act exactly the same way. I do like how the Twilight music comes back, and I love how there's different music for the outside of this place, as, like, every dungeon should do that. Every dungeon should have different music for the outside part of it. It makes it feel more like it's outside. What's especially glaring about having to fight this guy twice is that the fight doesn't even change. I mean, like, he throws out Deku Babas instead of the enemies that the other guy threw out at first, but he still does this exact same strategy of teleporting everywhere, and he doesn't have any new attacks. Like, he doesn't really have any attacks at all aside from spawning in enemies. I don't see what the point, other than padding, was of having multiple different fights with this guy. And again, I don't know why you can't skip that particular cutscene, but the cutscene of him spawning in every single room, oh no, that can be skipped. It is pretty cool raising these stairs just by having the souls in the holes, though. It's kind of like putting a golf ball in a hole, except the golf ball doesn't fall into the hole and then you can't retrieve it. I mean, I guess you can retrieve it, because otherwise you wouldn't be able to get golf balls back, and that would kind of suck. Maybe the holes are actually like small indents in the ground, not just bottomless pits. Obviously that is how it is. But yeah, like, you've even got keys in this dungeon. Keys! This is supposed to be the penultimate dungeon in the game, and I mean, I'm not complaining that it's easy, because that means it's less stressful, but this isn't very epic. This place can be kind of a backtracky, confusing maze, as you can see. It is pretty funny that even the giant hand gets stopped by the wall. Apparently it's too stupid to realize it can just float upwards and go above the wall. Maybe it's too heavy to rise upwards, because obviously a giant floating hand needs to follow the laws of physics. Of course, if you claw shot the soul over to you while standing on those stairs, they're going to sink with you on it. So you don't really want that. The whole reason that the slingshot was put in this game was to serve as yet another tutorial. You see, back when they showed the game at E3, they had fire arrows in the trailer, but they wondered how people would know how to control that on anything other than a GameCube controller. So, instead of making the smart decision and deciding to limit the Wii port to a good controller, Miyamoto decided on making the slingshot be in the game as a tutorial for pointer controls. Because apparently, the Wii pointer controls are so unbelievably unintuitive that of course you need to have a slingshot in the game as a tutorial for figuring it out. Why didn't Beth already have a slingshot, by the way, when she's the shopkeeper's daughter? Like, the kids at the beginning of the game were all about trying to get the slingshot, but I guess Beth's father isn't going to give it to her, even though you'd think that he'd really want, because Beth's father comes off as someone who really wants his parents' approval. I mean, his kids' approval? Well, probably his parents' approval, too. Because wasn't Beth's father the guy who was a coward, but he acted like a badass summoning an eagle against Link? So, wouldn't he also be the kind of father who would want to spoil his daughter by just giving her the slingshot right away? It's kind of weird that she didn't just already have it. Okay, Midnow's right there. Why didn't the Twilight see that? Were they not paying attention? I mean, you'd think that would be quite a sight for them, seeing a hero who's not even the same species as them, as that, powering up a magical sword in front of them. You'd think that they would all be turning to face him, and thus they would see an imp talking to him. Yeah, we're still at the point in the game, and we'll always be at that point in the game, where pretty much every chest you get that isn't a piece of heart or a dungeon item is going to be money. Money that you can't really take advantage of anymore. This game really suffered from not having spoils. I mean, sure, you didn't really do much with spoils in Wind Waker other than side quests, but why did they have to introduce the whole item upgrading with spoils thing in Skyward Sword? Why couldn't they have introduced them in this game?